My parents called me laughing to thank me for their gift. The gift. They had just sold my $85,000 custom car from under me to pay off my sister's $60,000 loan. They told me I'd find it gone when I got home. But they made one fatal mistake. They forgot who was secretly paying their business lease for the last 6 years. Before I tell you how this betrayal ends, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. And if you've ever been the responsible child who gets taken for granted, hit that like and subscribe button. You're going to want to see this. My name is Jordan Matthews, and I'm 28 years old. My world is built on precision engineering, performance metrics, and the clean lines of carbon fiber. As a senior mechanical engineer for a major automotive company in Detroit, my days are structured by CAD models, prototype testing, and the satisfying hum of perfectly tuned engines. My car, my 2023 BMW M4 Competition, wasn't just transportation. It was my sanctuary. Every custom modification, every performance upgrade, every detail was carefully chosen. Pearl white with midnight blue accents, carbon fiber everything, upgraded exhaust, tuned ECU. I had spent 3 years and $35,000 in modifications, turning it into something extraordinary. It was parked in my secured garage downtown, and I was currently 3 states away at an engineering conference in Chicago. I was in the middle of presenting my latest suspension design to a room full of industry executives when my phone, set to silent, started lighting up like a fireworks display. The screen illuminated. Mom. I ignored it. Mom again. I shifted my weight, trying to focus. As you can see from this stress analysis, I continued, gesturing at the screen. Mom. 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 It was now 12 missed calls. The conference moderator, Dr. Harrison Chen, paused. Jordan, is everything all right? You seem distracted. My face flushed. My apologies, Dr. Chen. Just a family matter. Please let me step away for one moment. I hit mute, grabbed my phone, and stepped into the hotel hallway. My voice was a furious whisper. Mom, I'm presenting at a major automotive conference. This better be life or death. The sound that came back was not distress. It was laughter. Loud, champagne-soaked laughter underscored by clinking glasses and music. Jordan, sweetie, guess what? It was my mother, Patricia. She sounded ecstatic. My sister Riley, the 26-year-old golden child lifestyle blogger, screamed into the phone. We did it, Jordy. We cleared my debt. Can you believe it? I'm finally free. I pinched the bridge of my nose. My patience gone. Okay, great. I have to go. No, wait. Mom got back on the line. That's not even the best part. It's all thanks to you, baby. Thank you. You're a lifesaver. A cold feeling started in my stomach. Thanks for what? I didn't approve any loan payment. What are you talking about? My mother laughed that airy, dismissive laugh she used when she thought I was being silly. Oh, don't be dramatic, Jordan. I sold your car, sweetie. The BMW. The sale went through this morning. We got a fantastic price. $85,000 cash. Can you believe it? It's more than enough to pay off Riley's student loans and credit card debt. Isn't that wonderful? The hallway started to spin. I leaned against the wall, my hand shaking. My car. Mom, what are you talking about? You can't. My name is on the title. You can't just sell it. My mother's voice, the voice of a 53-year-old CPA who knew every financial loophole, suddenly lost its bubbliness. It turned cold, sharp, and condescending. Oh no, baby. You must be misremembering. Our names are on the title. My name and your father's. Your name isn't on it anywhere. You just contributed to the payments. Legally, Jordan, it was our property to sell, and we needed it for your sister. She's drowning in debt, for heaven's sake. This was the responsible thing to do. I couldn't breathe. The $25,000 down payment from my signing bonus. The $35,000 in custom modifications I paid for with my own overtime. Every payment, every upgrade, all documented. Mom, I whispered. How am I supposed to get to work? Anyway, she continued as if I hadn't spoken. The buyer is already picking it up tomorrow. A nice young man from Bloomfield Hills. He's very excited. We have to go, baby. Riley's celebrating with her friends. We'll talk this weekend. Love you. Click. The line went dead. I stood there frozen in the carpeted hotel hallway, staring at nothing. On the other side of the conference room door, I could hear Dr. Chen's voice. Jordan, are you coming back? I stared at the wall. My shock was hardening, crystallizing into something cold, sharp, and heavy. They had finally pushed me too far. The war had just begun. I clicked end meeting on the conference call. I didn't return to the presentation. I didn't apologize or reschedule. I just walked to my rental car and sat in the parking garage. My car, my beautiful custom M4 that I'd built with my own hands on weekends. It was gone. Sold. Like a used appliance. My mind reeled back, trying to find the moment the trap was set. It wasn't hard to find. It was 3 years ago. I was 25, fresh off landing a major promotion at the automotive company. I had $40,000 in the bank. $40,000 I had earned through scholarship refunds, performance bonuses, and weekend side work consulting on automotive designs. I was ready to buy my dream car. I showed my parents the dealership listing. My mother, Patricia, had smiled, but it was that tight accountant smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, an M4 is ambitious, Jordan," she'd said, sipping her coffee. My father, Robert, just nodded along, looking concerned. "Son, your credit is still building," he said, in that gentle, worried tone he always used before asking for something. "You're 25. Getting approved for an $85,000 car loan is tough. The bank will see you as high risk." I told them I didn't need help. I had the $25,000 for the down payment. I had the pre-approval letter. My income was solid. My mother placed her hand on mine. "Sweetie, I know you're smart, but let us help you. Let your dad and me co-sign. We have established credit with the bank. It will make the whole process smoother. It's just a formality, of course. Just paperwork to get it pushed through faster. A formality. That's what she called it. And I, like an idiot, was grateful. I thought they were finally supporting me, seeing me as an equal. I transferred the $25,000 directly to the dealer. I signed the papers they told me to sign. And then the bills came, and I paid them. Every single month for 36 straight months. The car payment, the insurance, the registration. I never missed a payment. I never asked them for a dime. I was Jordan, the responsible one. I was building my asset. Or so I thought. Now it all made perfect, sickening sense. This was never about my credit. It was about their asset. This was always the long con. My sister Riley was the one who needed help. Riley, who got a brand new MacBook Pro for her 18th birthday while I had to save for my own laptop. Riley, who dropped out of the University of Michigan after 3 semesters to become a full-time lifestyle blogger, which really meant my parents paid for her trendy apartment in Royal Oak and her endless coffee shop photo shoots. I remember confronting my mother about it once, years ago. Why does she get everything handed to her while I have to work for every single thing I own? My mother's face had hardened. She'd pulled that classic line, the one she'd used my entire life. "Because Riley is sensitive, Jordan. The world is hard on a creative, artistic soul like her. She needs our protection. You're different. You're strong. You can handle it." She was right about one thing. I am strong. But she had mistaken my strength for stupidity. She thought I was a workhorse she could ride until I collapsed. She thought I was an ATM she could drain for the real child. They had just stolen $85,000 from me. They thought I would just handle it. The ice in my veins wasn't despair anymore. It was rage. Pure, focused, and utterly cold. I grabbed my rental car keys. I wasn't going back to the conference. I was going to war. The drive back to Detroit was a blur. I don't remember stopping for gas. I don't remember the toll booths. I just remember my hands gripping the steering wheel of the rental Camry so hard my knuckles turned white. The same boring sedan I'd be stuck driving now because my parents were busy funding Riley's Instagram lifestyle. I pulled into their driveway in Birmingham, the tires screeching on the pristine brick pavers. Their house was a sprawling colonial with a 3-car garage and a manicured lawn that screamed success to all their country club friends. It was the house my mother always dreamed of, the symbol that the Matthews family had made it. I didn't knock. I didn't ring the bell. I used my old key and burst through the front door. Where is she? My father, Robert, was exactly where I knew he'd be. In his home office, sitting in his leather chair, watching stock market updates on his multiple monitors. He looked up, annoyed by the interruption. Jordan, what on earth? You're going to track mud on your mother's floors. You sold my car. I screamed it. The words echoed in the high-ceiling foyer. You let her sell my car. My father sighed that deep, put-upon sigh he always used when I was being difficult. He minimized his stock charts but didn't close them. He couldn't even give me his full attention for this. Jordan, lower your voice, he said, not looking at me. Don't come into this house acting crazy. We did what was best for the family. Best for the family? I was shaking. That was my money. That was my car. How could you just give it to her? Don't be dramatic, he snapped. It's just a car. Your sister needs this. Riley is drowning in debt. Do you understand what that means? She has $45,000 in student loans from that expensive school she went to, plus $15,000 in credit cards. This is crushing her. It's affecting her mental health. She deserves a fresh start. A fresh start? I said. And what about me? What do I deserve? To be carless? You'll be fine, he mumbled, waving his hand dismissively. You're smart. You make good money with that engineering job. You can buy another car. You always land on your feet. That was it. That was my prize for being the strong one. My punishment for being responsible. I'm calling a lawyer, I said, my voice dropping, becoming as cold as the rage in my stomach. I'm calling a lawyer, and I'm suing you both. This is theft. A lawyer? The voice came from the top of the grand staircase. My mother, Patricia. She was in a designer loungewear set, her hair perfectly styled. She looked like she'd just come from a spa day. She slowly descended the stairs, one hand gliding along the polished banister. A lawyer, she repeated, tasting the word. She actually laughed. It was a short, sharp, ugly sound. Is that what you said, Jordan? You're going to sue your father and me? The people who raised you? The people who helped you get that car in the first place? You didn't help me get that car, I shot back. I paid for it. Every cent. She reached the bottom of the stairs and stopped, looking at me with something between pity and contempt. Go ahead, baby. Call your little lawyer. Spend the money. He's going to look at the paperwork and tell you the exact same thing I'm telling you now. The title has my name and your father's name on it. Your name is nowhere to be found. But the down payment, the modifications, I have the receipts, I protested. Oh, sweetie, she said, stepping into the living room. That's so naive. Any money you contributed was, let's call it a family contribution. As far as the law is concerned, you were borrowing our car. A generous loan, I'll give you that. But ultimately, our asset to manage. She walked over to my father and picked up a financial magazine from his desk. I am a licensed CPA, Jordan. I have been in finance for 30 years. I read every line of the fine print. I know exactly what I'm doing. She tapped the magazine against her hand. You were building wealth too young. We protected you from a bad investment. And now that asset is being liquidated to solve something more important. Your sister's future. I just stood there, speechless. The rage was gone, replaced by a terrifying cold understanding. This wasn't a crime of passion. It wasn't a desperate, impulsive decision. This was a strategy, a long-term calculated plan. They had been setting this up for 3 years just for this moment. My mother looked up from the magazine, her eyes completely void of emotion. You've made your scene. Now go back to Chicago and finish your conference. And Jordan, she added, the new owner is picking up the car tomorrow at 10 a.m. from your garage. I'd appreciate it if you had all your personal items removed by tonight. I'd hate for there to be any awkwardness. The next morning, I was sitting in a downtown Detroit law office. Across the desk sat Marcus Williams. We had gone to Michigan State together. He was the only person I knew who was smarter about contracts than I was, which is why he went into law and I went into engineering. I had already emailed him scans of every document I had. The bill of sale, the modification receipts, the $25,000 wire transfer, 36 straight months of payment records, all showing debits from my account to the financing company. I sat there, vibrating with cold, clear rage, waiting for him to tell me how we were going to crush them. Marcus did not look at me. He was staring at his monitor, scrolling through the PDFs of the title and loan documents from 3 years ago. He let out a long, slow breath and leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "Jordan," he said, and his voice was flat. That's when my stomach dropped. "They got you," he said. "They got you clean." "What are you talking about?" I demanded. My voice was sharp. "I have the records. I paid the down payment. I paid every car payment, every insurance bill. It's my money." Marcus shook his head, and he looked genuinely pained. "It doesn't matter what you paid, Jordan. It matters what you signed. And 3 years ago, you signed a purchase agreement that lists your parents, Robert and Patricia Matthews, as the sole owners on the title. Your name isn't on it. Legally, you are not the owner. You never were. But the payments," I insisted, my voice rising. "The $25,000 down payment, that's fraud." "It's not," he said, cutting me off gently. "It's their word against yours. We can file a lawsuit." "Absolutely. We can argue for unjust enrichment, conversion of funds. But Jordan, it will be brutal. Think about it. Your mother is a professional CPA. She knew exactly what she was doing. The moment we file, she will countersue. She will claim the $25,000 was a gift from a grateful son. She will claim the 3 years of payments were rent. Just rent you were paying to use their car." "Rent?" I scoffed. "Who pays rent and a $25,000 down payment?" "They'll say it was a deposit," Marcus said. "They'll say it was advance payment. They'll say whatever they want. And honestly, a judge might believe them. It's he said, she said in a family dispute. This won't be quick, Jordan. This will take years. It will cost you $40,000, maybe $50,000 in legal fees. And at the end of it all, a judge might just say, it's a family matter, and refuse to get involved. You might not get a dime back, and you'll be broke from the legal fees." My stomach felt like it was full of concrete. So that's it. They just win. They steal $85,000 from me, and they just win. As if summoned by the universe, my phone buzzed on the desk. A new email. The subject line was cold and corporate. Vehicle pickup confirmation. BMW M4 VIN 5YZ 12ABC3P1234567. My hand was shaking as I opened it. It was from an auto transport company. On behalf of the new owner, Mr. David Richardson, we are confirming pickup of the above vehicle from your garage at 1247 Washington Boulevard, Unit 8C, on June 15th at 10 a.m. Please ensure the vehicle is accessible and all personal items are removed. I slid the phone across the desk to Marcus. He read it and cursed under his breath. "They're not even waiting," he said. "They're moving fast." I stood up. My body felt numb. I wasn't just betrayed. I wasn't just robbed. I was a fool. My mother had not just stolen from me. She had proven she was smarter than me. She had used my trust, my work ethic, and my love against me, and she had done it perfectly. I walked out of Marcus's office in a daze. I got into my rental car and just sat in the parking garage, the pickup confirmation burning on my phone screen. I was officially carless. I had lost $85,000. And just when I thought the humiliation couldn't possibly get any deeper, my phone lit up again. It was a new text message from Mom. "Hi, sweetie. Just a reminder, don't forget about our family celebration dinner tonight, 7 p.m. at the Detroit Athletic Club. Riley is so excited. We have so much to celebrate. Don't be late." A celebration. They weren't just robbing me. They were inviting me to the party they were throwing with my own money. They wanted me to sit there and smile while they toasted to my destruction. I showed up at 7. The Detroit Athletic Club was the kind of place that made you feel poor just by breathing the air. dark wood paneling, oil paintings of old industrialists, crystal chandeliers. Men in suits and women in cocktail dresses murmured over plates that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I was wearing the clothes I'd worn to Marcus's office, khakis and a button-down. I felt like a valet who'd wandered off duty. They were already at a private dining room table. My mother, Patricia, was holding court in a vibrant emerald dress. My father, Robert, was in a suit I'd never seen, looking puffed up and important. And then there was the golden child. My sister Riley was practically glowing, her skin luminous with that lifestyle blogger filter in real life. She wore a designer dress, her hair perfectly styled in beach waves. Beside her sat her boyfriend, Trevor Cambridge, her 29-year-old fiancé. He was exactly what you'd expect. Tall, blonde, trust fund posture, working in his father's commercial real estate firm. He wore expensive casual clothes that screamed, "I don't need to try." I slid into the chair. The leather sighed under me. "Sorry, I'm late," I mumbled. "Oh, Jordan. There you are." Riley squealed as if she hadn't just helped detonate my life. She leaned across the table and grabbed my hand, her new manicure digging into my skin. "I'm so glad you made it." "Oh, honey, you look exhausted," she said with fake syrupy concern. "Is the car shopping just awful? I can't even imagine not having transportation. Uber must be so expensive." Her implication was clear. "Thanks for giving up your transportation so I can have financial freedom." Before I could answer, Trevor, the boyfriend, raised his glass of bourbon to me. "Jordan, right? Good to finally meet the family engineer." He didn't wait for a response. "Listen, I just wanted to say thanks for the assist." He said the word assist like he was talking about passing him the salt. "I was just telling Riley," he continued, swirling his drink. "Debt under 6 figures just isn't manageable for someone building a lifestyle brand. It would have killed her credit for years. So it's really great to see your family, stepping up to solve it." He smiled at me, a flash of white teeth. He was patting me on the head. He was a wealthy white man from a wealthy white family, and he was thanking me for giving up my car so his girlfriend could have a clean credit report. My skin was on fire. I looked to my father, hoping for even a flicker of defense. He was beaming. "Isn't it wonderful, Jordan?" he boomed, oblivious. "Our little Riley, engaged to Trevor Cambridge." The Cambridge family. What a blessing. My mother just smiled, a queen surveying her kingdom. She had won. She had secured the social status. She had bought her way into the elite she'd always craved, using my future as the currency. The waiter arrived. "Can I get you a drink, sir?" "Scotch," I said, my voice tight. "The most expensive one you have. And keep them coming." For the next hour, I sat there and drank. I drank as they discussed wedding venues that cost more than my annual salary. I drank as Riley debated whether her bridesmaids should wear blush or champagne. I drank as my mother told a long, flattering story about Trevor's father's commercial real estate empire. Every laugh, every toast was a shovel of dirt on the grave of my old life, and I was being forced to sit and watch the burial. I finished my 3rd scotch. The rage and the alcohol were making my head swim. I couldn't sit there anymore. I couldn't watch them celebrate my execution. I stood up abruptly. The table went quiet. "Jordan, are you all right?" my mother asked, her brow furrowed in annoyance. I looked at her, my vision narrowing. I had one last card to play, one last desperate appeal to the woman who was supposedly my mother. "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice low and dangerous. I nodded toward the back hallway. "Now." In the restroom hallway, my mother followed me. It was all marble and brass fixtures, with soft jazz piping in from hidden speakers. It was as cold and impersonal as a vault. She crossed her arms, leaning against the wall, her expensive perfume filling the small space. "All right, Jordan," she said, her voice sharp and annoyed. "What is this? You're making a scene. Trevor is going to think our family is unstable." "Unstable?" I laughed, but the sound was bitter. "Mom, he thinks I donated my car to Riley's debt fund. How is that not unstable?" I turned to face her. The scotch had made me bold, but the desperation was real. This was my last chance. I had to try. "Mom, please," I begged, and I hated the sound of my own voice. "Please stop this. Call the buyer. Cancel the sale. You're a CPA. You can undo this. Say there was a mistake in the paperwork." I stepped closer to her. That was everything I had. That was my $25,000 down payment. That was 3 years of payments. That was $35,000 in modifications I did myself. I'll have to take the bus to work. I'll have nothing. Please, Mom, don't do this to me. My mother just stared at me. Her face didn't soften. She didn't look sad or guilty or conflicted. She just looked bored, like I was a whining child asking for a toy she'd already said no to. She turned to the gilded mirror and pulled a tube of expensive lipstick from her clutch. She began to carefully reapply it, watching her own reflection instead of mine. "Don't be so selfish, Jordan," she said calmly, her eyes on her own lips. My jaw dropped. "Selfish? I'm being selfish? You stole $85,000 from me?" "I reallocated a family asset," she corrected, snapping the lipstick tube shut. She finally turned to look at me, her eyes as hard and cold as the marble counter. "You're 28 years old, Jordan, and all you have to show for it is one car and that engineering job. Your sister, on the other hand, is about to enter a dynasty, a legacy. The Cambridge family has connections we've only dreamed of. This isn't just about debt relief. It's about positioning. It's about the Matthews name finally meaning something in this city. But what about my name?" I whispered. "What about my future?" She took a step toward me and actually straightened my collar. A gesture that was so maternal it made my skin crawl. "Your future is to help your family. That has always been your role. You're the strong one, remember? Sometimes one person has to make a sacrifice for the greater good of the family." She gave my collar a final dismissive pat. "This time, Jordan, it's you." She pushed past me, the scent of her perfume trailing behind her, and walked out. She left me standing there alone, staring at my own reflection in the mirror. She was right. I was 28, and I was a fool. I had spent my entire life trying to win the love of a woman who saw me as nothing more than a resource to be drained, a sacrifice to be made. I looked at my face in the mirror. The pleading son was gone. The desperate child was gone. There was nothing left in my eyes at all. Just a cold, empty, echoing silence. I smoothed my collar, turned, and walked back to the table. I sat down, picked up my scotch glass, and smiled at my sister, who was busy showing Trevor pictures of wedding cakes on her phone. They didn't even notice I'd been gone. It was a few days after that humiliating dinner. I was living out of my rental car and a cheap extended stay hotel. My life was in upheaval. I couldn't afford to buy a new car. The $25,000 I'd saved for emergencies was now gone, stolen. I'd have to liquidate investments, maybe even take a loan against my 401k, just to get basic transportation again. I was sitting in the hotel parking lot, scrolling through used car listings on my phone. The prices made me want to be sick. Even a decent used sedan was $30,000. I didn't have it. Tears of pure frustration started to blur the screen. And then my phone rang. The screen lit up. Mom and Riley. A joint video call. My stomach clenched. I let it ring twice, but I knew they would just keep calling. I wiped my eyes and hit the green button. Their faces exploded onto my screen, beaming, flushed with excitement. They were somewhere bright and beautiful, an upscale boutique filled with designer handbags and jewelry displays. Riley was holding up a stunning diamond bracelet, spinning it in the light. "Jordan." "Oh my God, look!" she squealed, doing a little dance. "This is it. Trevor bought it for me. Isn't it perfect?" My mother was beside her, holding a glass of champagne. "Hi, baby," she said, her voice giddy. "We're just celebrating Riley's debt freedom, and we were just talking about you. We wanted to call and say thank you for the gift." Riley put her hands together in a prayer gesture, the bracelet flashing. "Yes. Thank you, big brother. Thank you for my fresh start. I love you." They both laughed, a bright, tinkling, happy sound. They were standing in a jewelry store, celebrating with champagne, bought with my stolen money. They were thanking me for it, as if I had wrapped my entire future in a bow and handed it to them. I stared at them. I stared at their smiling, happy faces. I didn't say a word. My mother's smile faltered just a little. "Jordan, honey, did you hear us?" We said thank you. You know, for the car money. I pressed the red end call button. The screen went black. The call was over. And just like that, the tears stopped. It was like a switch had been flipped. The hot rage, the despair, the suffocating sadness, it all vanished. In its place, something cold, heavy, and wonderfully solid settled into my chest. It was ice. I sat in the silence of my rental car for 1 full minute. Then I closed the used car app. I opened my banking app. I logged in. My checking account balance was painfully low after the hotel costs. I tapped on bill pay. Then I tapped on scheduled payments. My upcoming payments were listed. My student loan, my credit cards. And then, there it was. The big one. Scheduled to go out in 2 days. The payment I had set up 6 years ago. The one I never missed. The one I never, ever spoke about. Recipient: Northland Property Management amount, $6,500 memo, commercial lease, 2847 Woodward Avenue, Suite 200. Property: Matthews & Associates CPA firm, the beautiful office space in downtown Birmingham. The prestigious address my mother was so proud of. The office where she met with her wealthy clients. The office my father used for his consulting work. The office they probably sitting in right now, toasting their good fortune. The office lease I had been secretly paying for 6 years. I looked at the payment. I looked at the cheap hotel room keycard on my dashboard. They had taken my car. So I took my finger, and I pressed the button on the screen. Cancel this payment. A pop-up appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this payment and all future scheduled payments to this recipient? My hand did not shake. I pressed confirm. I left the hotel parking lot. I couldn't stay there. I drove to a quiet coffee shop in Ferndale, one where I knew no one would recognize me. I ordered a black coffee I didn't want, sat in a dark corner, and pulled out my laptop. I opened my secure cloud drive, a place where I kept my tax documents, my employment contracts, and one folder I hadn't opened in years. The folder was labeled Family Financial Assistance. I clicked on it. Inside was a series of scanned PDFs and saved email threads, all dated 6 years ago. I was 22. I had just graduated from Michigan State and had been at my first engineering job for exactly 8 months. I was so proud. I was making $58,000 a year, which felt like all the money in the world. I was living in a tiny studio apartment in Dearborn and saving every penny. That's when the first call came. It was my father, Robert, sounding panicked. The accounting firm he and my mother had built was in trouble. They had lost 2 major clients in 1 month. The overhead was crushing them. The lease on their prestigious downtown office was $6,500 a month, and they couldn't make the payment. They were facing eviction from the building they'd worked so hard to get into. I found the first document. It was a scanned letter from Northland Property Management, addressed to Matthews & Associates CPA firm. The words were large and terrifying. Notice of default. Immediate payment required or lease termination proceedings will begin. Then I opened the email. It was from my father's business account, sent to my work email at 11 p.m. The subject line was just, Jordan, my boy. I don't know what to do. The property management company is threatening to evict us. Your mother? She's devastated. She can't face her clients in a lesser building. Everything we've worked for, all our credibility, gone. They're going to put a notice on our door, Jordan. They're going to humiliate us in front of our competitors. I remembered the cold dread as I read it. You're the only one, the email continued. You're the smart one. You're the one with the stable job. I know you're just starting out, but you're our only hope. I'm begging you, Jordan. Don't let them destroy what we've built. Please. I promise I'll pay back every single cent as soon as we stabilize. Please save your family. Save the business. Save the family. That was always my job. I was the strong one. the reliable one. I didn't even think. I took my entire savings, the $8,000 I had scraped together, and I called their property management company. I, a 22-year-old kid, called a commercial landlord and asked to speak to the accounts department. I found the next email in the folder. It was from a property manager, sent to both me and my parents. The subject, Confidential Lease Guarantee Agreement, 2847 Woodward Avenue, Suite 200. My 22-year-old self had thought he was a hero. My 28-year-old self, sitting in a coffee shop, finally realized he had been a fool. I hadn't saved them. I had just become their secret, silent bank. I looked at the screen, at that email chain from 6 years ago, at the confidential lease guarantee agreement. It wasn't really a guarantee. It was a rescue plan, a secret bailout brokered by a desperate 22-year-old kid. The property management company had agreed to stop the eviction. They agreed to continue the lease. But they had one absolute non-negotiable condition. A third-party guarantor had to step in. A third party with stable, verifiable income had to assume responsibility for the monthly payments. That third party was me. I, at 22 years old, with my 8 months of job history, had agreed. I took my brand new stable salary and aimed it right at their lease. The payment was $6,500 every single month, without fail, for 72 consecutive months. I did the math right there in the coffee shop on a napkin. 6 years, x 12 months, x $6,500. I had secretly paid $468,000 to keep that office lease active. And the sickest part, the truly twisted part, they forgot. I'm certain that at first they were grateful. My father paid me back twice, small amounts, before he said he needed to rebuild the business reserves. My mother, the CPA, had the audacity to tell me it was a smart career move, that having a stake in the family business would benefit me someday. But over the years, the story changed in their heads. They convinced themselves that they had simply negotiated better terms with the landlord, that their business acumen had saved the day. My $6,500 payment became invisible. It became background noise. Just a thing Jordan does. He's the strong one. He can handle it. That payment, my secret sacrifice, became the invisible foundation of their entire comfortable professional life. It paid for the prestigious address. It paid for their status with clients. It paid for their reputation at the country club. It paid for the very financial stability that allowed them to accumulate enough liquidity to help Riley, to steal my car for her benefit. They forgot that I was their landlord. They forgot that I was the only reason they had a business at all, and they had just stolen $85,000 from me to pay for Riley's mistakes. They didn't just bite the hand that fed them. They sawed it off at the shoulder. They thought they had stolen my future. They had no idea they had just personally detonated their own. I closed the laptop. The quiet click of the lid felt as final as a judge's gavel. The 72-month rescue mission was officially over. The bomb was set. All I had to do now was wait. 8 days passed. The first of the month came and went in a blur of car shopping and budget recalculations. I was now driving a used Toyota Camry I'd purchased for $28,000, financed at a brutal interest rate. My dream M4 was gone, replaced by a boring sedan. The financial hit was staggering. I was at work, reviewing CAD models for a new suspension system, when my phone rang. I looked at the screen. Mom. My heart didn't leap. I didn't feel rage or despair. I just felt a cold, heavy sense of inevitability. The second domino was about to fall. I let it ring 3 times, took a calm sip of my coffee, and then I answered. Hello. There was no bubbly greeting. No hi, sweetie. Her voice was thin, tight, and confused. Jordan, something strange just happened. The property management company called. Northland. They said we're 8 days past due on the lease. 8 days? Can you believe it? We've never been late on a payment. It must be some ridiculous computer glitch, some error in their system. She paused. I thought maybe you'd know what to do. You're good with computers and systems. Can you help us figure this out? I looked out my office window at the Detroit skyline. The moment was finally here. It's not a mistake, Mom, I said calmly. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Just dead air. "What?" she finally said. "What do you mean it's not a mistake?" "I mean I stopped the payment," I said. I pulled up a design file on my screen, continuing my work. I heard a sharp intake of breath. You stopped paying what? What are you possibly talking about, Jordan? You don't pay our lease. We do. The business does." The ignorance was so deep, so profound, it was almost impressive. She had completely erased my 6-year sacrifice from her memory. "No, Mom," I said, and my voice was as clear and sharp as glass. "You don't. I do. The lease on your office, 2847 Woodward Avenue, Suite 200. The payment of $6,500. The payment that I have personally made every single month for the last 6 years. The payment that adds up to $468,000. The payment that kept your precious office from eviction 6 years ago. That payment." I stopped it. The silence on the other end was deafening. I could hear her faint, shallow breathing. "Jordan," she whispered. Her voice was no longer confused. It was trembling. "I had to," I said, my tone bright and helpful. "I just couldn't afford it anymore. I had to finance a new used car, and my funds were a little tight. You know, since you sold my $85,000 custom M4 out from under me to pay for Riley's debt. I guess you could say I reallocated a family asset." She didn't speak. She couldn't. "I have to go, Mom," I said. "I have a design review in 10 minutes. Goodbye." I hit the red button. I left her in the echoing silence of the financial ruin she had just discovered. I looked at my coffee cup. The first domino had just hit the second, and I knew the rest were about to come crashing down. The moment I hung up, my phone exploded. It wasn't one call. It was a storm. First Mom. I silenced it immediately. Dad. I silenced it. A new voicemail notification appeared. Then another. A third. A text message from Dad. "Jordan. Call me right now. This is not funny." A text from Mom. "Jordan Michael Matthews. You pick up this phone this instant. You have made a terrible mistake. Call Northland immediately." I didn't call Northland. I just sat at my desk, surrounded by engineering blueprints. And I imagined the scene. I imagined the panic setting in at the beautiful office suite in downtown Birmingham. The scene shifts. We're in their pristine glass-walled office. My mother, Patricia, is pacing. Her phone pressed so hard to her ear her hand is shaking. My father, Robert, is slumped in his leather chair, his face ghostly white, listening on speakerphone. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Matthews, but as I've explained, there is no glitch," a calm, professional voice says from the speaker. "It's Jennifer Morrison, a property manager. The payment was scheduled for the 1st. It was canceled by the third-party guarantor on the 28th of last month." "What third-party guarantor?" Patricia shrieks, her CPA composure completely gone. "We are the payers, Matthews and Associates. We've been paying for years." There's the sound of keyboard clicking on the other end. Ms. Morrison sighs. "Ma'am," she says, and her voice is now cautious, like she's speaking to someone unstable. "I'm looking at the confidential lease guarantee agreement that was signed by you, your husband, and a third party 6 years ago. This agreement was contingent upon a guarantor, Jordan M. Matthews, assuming all monthly payments. As those payments have now officially stopped, your lease is in default." Robert makes a small, gasping noise. "Default? What does that mean?" We'll just pay it. It's 8 days late. We'll pay the $6,500 right now." "I'm afraid it's not that simple, sir," Ms. Morrison says, and her voice is now ice. "According to the acceleration clause in this agreement, the termination of the third-party payment plan triggers an immediate due-on-demand provision." "A what?" Patricia whispers. "The full remaining balance of your lease term is now due immediately, plus penalties. My father looks like he's been punched." The full balance? How much is that?" More typing. "The current obligation for the remaining 18 months of your lease term, plus the early termination penalty, is $137,800. That amount is due within 15 days, or we will be forced to begin eviction proceedings and pursue legal action. Patricia lets out a high-pitched, hysterical laugh. $137,000? That's ridiculous. We don't have... Wait. Her eyes light up with sudden manic relief. Yes, we do. Robert, the car money. The $85,000 from Jordan's BMW. It's in the business account. We can pay most of it. She scrambles for her laptop, pulling up their business banking, her hands flying across the keyboard. She stops. The screen glows on her face. Her face goes white. Robert, she says, her voice a low hiss. Robert, where is the money? My father won't look at her. He's staring at his desk as if it's the most interesting thing in the world. The wedding deposit, Patricia, he stammers. What about the wedding deposit? Riley and Trevor called yesterday, he whispers. They needed the venue deposit. The Birmingham Country Club. They needed the full $45,000. And Riley's credit cards. She had new balances. Another $8,000. She was stressed, Patricia. You said to take care of everything. Marcus! What did you do? I transferred it, he suddenly bellows, his voice cracking. I transferred it all, Patricia. Just like you told me to. You said Riley needed a clean slate. You said to handle everything immediately. You even approved the transfer to her wedding planner this morning. Another $12,000. A coffee mug drops from Patricia's hand and shatters on the floor. They just stare at each other. The $85,000 from my car is gone. Spent. Transferred. Non-refundable. And the $137,800 bill for their office lease is sitting on the desk. Due in full. They have no savings. They have no liquidity. They have nothing. They are completely, utterly, and entirely broke. The trap my mother had so perfectly set for me had just snapped shut on her. I let them panic. For 4 days, I heard nothing. The storm of angry voicemails and threatening texts went silent. It was a new kind of torture for them. A silence they knew they couldn't afford. They had no cards left to play. I had the money. More importantly, I had the truth. I spent those 4 days working, going to the gym, living my life. Every day without their chaos felt like a small victory. I was getting out. I was purging their influence. The 15 days they had been given were ticking down. I had just finished a workout when my phone rang. It was not my mother or my father. It was Riley. I almost didn't answer. I had nothing to say to her. But a cold curiosity made me pick up. I hit the speakerphone button and set the phone on my car dashboard. Riley? The sound that came through the speaker was not human. It was a shriek. A high-pitched, hysterical wail. You did this! You ruined it! I hate you! I hate you! I waited. I just let her scream. It was the sound of a child having a tantrum combined with the panic of a spoiled woman realizing her platinum-plated world was on fire. Riley, I said calmly, I have no idea what you're talking about. Their office, their business. You witch. What did you do to them? What did you do? Through her gasping, ugly sobs, I started to piece together the story. The story of what had happened at the Matthews and Associates office that morning. She and Trevor had been out, she sobbed. They were at a wedding venue tour. They had just selected the Birmingham Country Club. The deposit was paid. They were discussing their honeymoon to the Amalfi Coast that Trevor's parents were paying for. She was, in her own words, the happiest I've ever been. Then Trevor got a call. From his father. His father, who golfs with half the professional network in Birmingham. His father, who had just heard from a colleague that Matthews and Associates was being evicted from their downtown office for non-payment. They came to the office. She told me they walked in through the glass doors, and they walked into hell. The first thing she saw, she said, was my father, Robert. Our strong, proud father. He was not at his desk. He was in his office. He was sitting on the floor, his back against the wall, sobbing. My mother, Patricia, the mastermind, was just standing. She was frozen in the middle of the reception area, staring at a piece of paper in her hand. Her face, Riley said, was scary white. And on their beautiful glass front door, there was a bright orange sticker. Notice of default. Eviction proceedings initiated. Riley told me she thought it was a mistake. Some kind of prank. "What is wrong with you people?" Riley had screamed at them. "Dad, get off the floor. You're being pathetic." "Mom, what is that stupid thing on the door?" My mother, Patricia, didn't move. She just whispered, "We're ruined. It's over." Riley, in her profound spoiled ignorance, didn't understand. She thought they were being dramatic. She thought this was somehow about her. "Stop it! You're scaring Trevor. You're ruining our good mood." And that's when my father, the man who had avoided my gaze, the man who had told me I'd be fine, finally looked up. His face was blotchy, his eyes swollen and red. He looked at his precious golden child, and he told her the truth. He told me, Riley shrieked into my phone. He told me, You've been paying for the office. For 6 years. 6 years, I corrected, my voice quiet. $6,500 a month. 6 years. Riley let out another wail. He said the property management company is evicting them, that the letter says they're losing the office. In 15 days, they're destroying the business, putting them on the street. I gripped the steering wheel. 15 days. The universe had a dark sense of humor. And then he told me. She was choking on her own words now. He told me about your money, the $85,000 from your car. He said Mom used it for me, for my debt, for my wedding deposit, for my cards. She stopped. The realization had finally hit her. All of it. The debt payoff, the venue deposit, the credit cards. It was all paid for with my blood, with my stolen money. And the check that had paid for it had just bounced. Riley's voice changed. The confusion was gone. It was now pure, unadulterated venom. "You did this," she hissed. "This is your fault. You set them up. You stopped paying. You knew this would happen. You were just jealous." "Jealous?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "Yes. Jealous of me, of Trevor, of my wedding. You couldn't stand to see me happy, so you decided to ruin all of us. You'd rather see your own family broke than see me have one perfect day. I hate you, Jordan. I will never forgive you for this. Trevor's family is going to find out. His father already knows. We're humiliated. This is all your fault." The phone call ended. She had hung up. I sat in my car in the quiet of the gym parking lot. I thought about what she said. How my father had finally confessed. How he had admitted they stole my money right after he admitted I had been paying for their lives. He had finally told the truth. Not to save me. Not to apologize. But because the entire world had come crashing down, and there was no one left to lie to. They were ruined. They had lost the office. They had lost the money. And they had lost their golden ticket son-in-law's respect. I put the car in gear and pulled out of the parking lot. The storm I had started was now a raging hurricane, and it had just hit land. The buzzing sound was so harsh it made me jump. It wasn't my phone. It was my apartment intercom. I had been in my new place in Royal Oak for less than 2 weeks. I hadn't even finished unpacking. I walked over and pressed the talk button. "Hello?" A hesitant voice came through the static. Hi. This is Dave, building security. There's a group of people here for you." They say it's family. A family emergency. My blood went cold. "A family?" "Yeah," the guard said, and I could hear the discomfort in his voice. "They say it's urgent. Mr. and Mrs. Matthews, and Riley Matthews, and a Mr. Cambridge. They seem, well, they're very upset, sir. Should I send them up?" "No," I said, my voice instantly firm. "Do not send them up. I'll be right down." I didn't go down. I went to the small, grainy security monitor next to the intercom. I pressed the lobby camera, and there they were. The image was black and white, but the desperation was in full color. It was the 4 of them, huddled in the small lobby of my building. They looked pathetic. My father, Robert, was a ghost. He was slumped in a plastic lobby chair, his suit wrinkled, his gaze fixed on the floor. He looked like he had aged 30 years in 4 days. A completely broken man. My sister Riley was vibrating with toxic energy. Her lifestyle blogger perfection was gone. Her hair was in a messy ponytail. Her expensive athleisure wear was wrinkled. And her face was blotchy and red from crying. She was pacing back and forth like a cornered animal. And my mother, Patricia, the queen, the master manipulator, the proud, polished CPA who cared so much about appearances. She was a wreck. Her hair was flat and uncombed. Her expensive outfit was creased like she'd slept in it. Her face was bare, puffy, and stained with tears. She was the one pressing the buzzer over and over. Then there was Trevor. He was not with them. He was standing about 15 feet away, near the entrance doors. He was completely untouched. His expensive casual clothes were perfect. His blonde hair was styled. He was not desperate. He was not sad. He was just watching them. His arms were crossed, and his face was a mask of cold, analytical disgust. He was an observer. He was judging his pathetic new in-laws. I let them wait for 1 full minute. I watched my mother press the buzzer again, her hand shaking. I finally pressed the talk button. My voice echoed through their humiliation in the lobby. "Can I help you?" Patricia visibly jumped. She rushed to the intercom panel, her face looming on my screen. "Jordan! Oh, baby. Thank God. Thank God, Jordan. Honey, please, you have to let us up. We need to talk to you. I can hear you just fine from here," I said. My voice was as flat and cold as the concrete walls around me. "Jordan, please," she wailed, and the sound was raw. She was actually sobbing. Big, ugly, gasping sobs. The queen was groveling. "Baby, I'm sorry. I am so, so sorry. I made a mistake. A terrible, terrible mistake." I didn't understand. The finances. Your father, We just got so excited for Riley. You know how she is. We made a mistake, baby. Please. "A mistake?" I said into the speaker. "You call grand theft a mistake?" "It wasn't. I didn't. We can fix this," she stammered. And then the real reason for her visit came pouring out. "Jordan, the property management company, they're evicting us. Our office. Our business. The clients, Jordan. Mrs. Henderson from the club. She saw the notice on the door. She called me. She asked me if we were closing down. I just watched her. She wasn't crying because she had hurt me. She was crying because Mrs. Henderson had called. And the business networking group," she continued, her voice rising in hysteria. "The Downtown Birmingham Association. We're supposed to host the quarterly meeting. Jordan, this will destroy us. This will destroy our reputation, our honor. Think of our honor." She was pressing her hands against the glass door now, a mirror image of a prisoner begging for release. "You have to fix this, Jordan. You're the only one who can. Call Northland right now. Tell them it was all a misunderstanding. Tell them you'll start paying again. You have to. Just make it stop. Please, baby, please." I let her words hang in the empty lobby. I let her sobs echo on the screen. I could see my father slowly look up at the camera. I could see Riley stop pacing, her eyes wide. I could see Trevor just watching. I leaned in close to my intercom. "No," I said. The sobbing stopped instantly. "What?" Patricia whispered. "What? What did you say?" I said no. I will not be calling Northland. I will not be fixing this. I watched her face crumble in real time. "Jordan, you don't mean that. You're just angry." "I mean it," I said, and my voice was so cold it surprised even me. "I'm looking at you, Mom, and you're not sad because you hurt me. You're sad because Mrs. Henderson saw the sign on your door. You're not here to apologize. You're here for a bailout." I took a deep breath. "You want to talk about honor? Let's talk about it. For 6 long years, I paid $468,000 to protect your honor. I paid to keep your secret. I paid to make sure your friends at the club thought you were successful. I watched my father flinch. I watched Trevor's eyebrows raise slightly. And how did you repay me for that sacrifice?" I continued. You responded by stealing $85,000 from me. You took my car, my modifications, and my entire investment, all to buy Riley's freedom. I leaned in one last time. You said it yourself, Mom. Sometimes one person has to make a sacrifice for the greater good of the family. This time, it's you. I let the words land. I watched my mother stumble back from the door, her hand over her mouth. I watched my father put his head in his hands. I think, I said, my voice full of finality, that I have sacrificed enough. We're done. For a second, there was just stunned, dead silence. Then, from the side of the screen, Riley launched herself forward. The grief and panic in her face had been replaced by pure, blinding rage. "Done?" she shrieked, her voice muffled but still audible. "You're not done. You can't be done." She slammed her entire body against the locked glass lobby door, rattling it in its frame. She wasn't begging. She was attacking. "You let us in," she screamed, hammering on the glass with both fists. "You fix this. You are ruining my life. You selfish—" The security guard, Dave, audibly flinched at the sound of Riley screaming. I could see him on the monitor taking a step back from the group, his hand hovering over his radio. He looked like he was about to call the police. Riley was completely unhinged. She was hammering on the glass with her fists, her face distorted and purple with rage. "You are a selfish bastard, Jordan. A selfish, jealous, bitter bastard." I just watched her. I didn't press the talk button. I just let her perform. "You've always been this way," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "My entire life. You were jealous when I got into a better college. You were jealous when I got brand deals on Instagram. You were jealous every time Mom and Dad told me I was the creative one. You've been bitter since the day I was born." My mother, Patricia, tried to pull her back. "Riley, stop it. You're making a scene. I don't care." Riley ripped her arm away from my mother. "He's the one making a scene. He's the one destroying our family." She couldn't stand it. Could you, Jordan? You couldn't stand that I was the one getting the fresh start. That I was the one marrying into the Cambridge family. You just sat in your stupid apartment with your stupid engineering job, and you rotted with jealousy. You saw me happy, and you just had to burn the whole world down. If you couldn't have it, nobody could. You'd rather see your own family broke than see me have one perfect day. She was panting, her chest heaving, tears of pure venom streaming down her face. My father was still a heap on the floor, sobbing. My mother was trying to pull her daughter back, whispering, "Stop it. Stop it." Her own face a mask of horrified shame. Not shame for what she did, shame for what the security guard was witnessing. And then a new voice cut through the air. It was not loud. It was not emotional. It was as cold, sharp, and clean as a scalpel. Enough. It was Trevor. He had not moved from his spot by the doors. He had just watched. He had listened. And now he was speaking. Riley's tantrum stopped instantly, as if he had flipped a switch. She froze, her fist still raised, and turned to him. The rage on her face was instantly replaced by dawning, terrible panic. "Trevor," she whispered. He slowly uncrossed his arms. He looked at the three of them. At my weeping father on the floor, at my groveling mother, at his screaming, hysterical girlfriend. He looked at them like a scientist examining a failed experiment. "So," he said, his voice quiet, but it carried across the lobby. "Let me just make sure I have this straight. Let's just summarize the facts for my own clarity." He took one step toward them. My mother and Riley flinched. 6 years ago, Trevor began. You, Robert and Patricia, defaulted on your commercial office lease. You were going to be evicted, correct? My father sobbed. My mother nodded, her body trembling. Then, Trevor continued. Your other child, Jordan, the engineer, he secretly and without any legal obligation, stepped in. And for 72 straight months, he paid your $6,500 lease. He paid, my God, he paid almost $500,000 of his own money to keep you in that office. Is that also correct? Patricia couldn't speak. She just nodded again. Okay, good, Trevor said, his voice dripping with icy sarcasm. So, In gratitude for this, last week, you, Patricia, and Robert engineered the sale of his custom BMW. You stole, what was it? $85,000? Riley started to speak. Trevor, no, it wasn't. I'm not finished, he snapped, and she went silent. You took that stolen $85,000, Trevor said, and you immediately funneled it into paying off Riley's student loans and credit card debt, plus wedding deposits. Is that right? Riley was shaking her head, silent tears now streaming down her face. Baby, please. It's not like that. And now, Trevor said, hitting the final point. Because Jordan, the original ATM, has stopped refilling your account, your business is being evicted. The $137,000 note is due. The stolen money is gone. And you are, for all intents and purposes, completely and totally bankrupt. You're going to lose your business. He paused. Did I miss anything? No one spoke. The lobby was as quiet as a tomb. The only sound was my father's ragged breathing. Riley took a desperate step toward him. She tried to grab his arm. Trevor, baby, listen to me. It's his fault. He's the one who did this. He set us up. It's a family misunderstanding. Tell him, Mom. Tell him it's not true. Tell him we have assets. Tell him you're a top CPA. My mother looked at Trevor, her eyes wide with desperate, animal-like pleading. Please, Trevor. It's a cash flow problem. It's temporary. We can rebuild. Trevor looked at her. Then he looked down at Riley. He looked at her hand, the one clutching his jacket. And with 2 fingers, he very calmly, very deliberately, plucked her hand off his arm, as if he was touching something filthy. Riley, he said, and his voice was completely dead. You told me your family was established. You told me your mother was one of the top CPAs in Detroit. You told me your father was a successful consultant. You told me your family owned multiple properties and had significant wealth. He shook his head, a small, almost amused smile on his face. Assets? Riley, your mother is a con artist who just got her own business foreclosed on. Your father is a weeping mess on a lobby floor. And you're a greedy, screaming child who just got caught. Trevor, no! Riley screamed. I love you. I love you. Don't do this. He just looked at her. Love? You don't even know what that is. You just wanted the lifestyle. You were willing to build our entire future on a foundation of theft and lies. He straightened his jacket. He took a step back, putting distance between himself and all of them. I can't, he said with a simple final shrug. I can't marry into this circus, this white-collar crime family. My family's name, the Cambridge name, will not be associated with fraud or theft or, frankly, this level of pathetic desperation. He reached into his pocket. He pulled out his phone. My lawyer, he said, will be in contact with your parents about any deposits that were made on my behalf. We will be clawing back whatever we can. He then looked at Riley. His eyes were completely empty. And Riley, my lawyer will also be in contact with you about the ring I bought you last month. I expect it to be returned in its original box by tomorrow morning. Do you understand me? Riley just stared at him, her mouth open, but no sound coming out. He didn't wait for an answer. He turned, his expensive shoes clicking on the tile, and he walked straight out of the glass doors. He didn't look back. He just left them there. For a full 5 seconds, Riley was frozen. She just watched the door swing shut, and then the sound that came out of her was not a cry. It was a howl, a deep, agonizing animal sound of pure, absolute loss. She didn't just lose a fiancé. She lost the ring. She lost the venue deposit. She lost the status. She lost the Cambridge name. She lost everything. She collapsed. She didn't just stumble. Her legs gave out, and she fell to the lobby floor in her wrinkled clothes, screaming and pounding the ground. My mother, Patricia, and my father, Robert, were statues. They just stared. They stared at the empty space where Trevor had been. They stared at their golden child, who was now a writhing, screaming heap on the floor. They had lost their business. They had lost their money. And now, They had lost their one great legacy. They were ruined. Completely. Utterly. I watched them on the grainy black and white screen. I watched them break. I watched all of their lies and ambitions and cruelty collapse in on itself in the lobby of my apartment building. And I took my finger, and I pressed the end button on the intercom. The feed cut out. The lobby and all its noise was gone. All I could hear was the sound of my own quiet, steady breathing. I stood there in my apartment, long after the image of my broken family had faded from the security monitor. The intercom was silent. The lobby, I assumed, was now a scene of recriminations and despair. Dave, the security guard, would be earning his paycheck tonight, likely having to escort them from the premises. The adrenaline that had been pumping through me drained away, leaving behind a cold, quiet calm. I walked to the window of my apartment. I didn't look down at the lobby. I looked out at the skyline of Detroit, a city I had conquered, a city where I had built a career, a life, and a future that had almost been stolen. My family, in their greed, had tried to tear down the one person who was holding them up. And in doing so, they had brought their own house, the one at 2847 Woodward Avenue, crashing down on top of them. My phone buzzed on the counter. My first thought was that it was one of them. A new number. A friend's phone. Another attempt to beg or threaten. But the name on the screen made my heart stop. Marcus Williams, Esquire. My lawyer. I picked up the phone. My hand was perfectly steady. Marcus? Jordan. His voice was not calm. It was electric. He sounded excited. He sounded impressed. You are not going to believe the call I just had. I did what we discussed. I sent the formal notice of intent to Northland Property Management. And I asked, and he said, and I could hear him smiling. The hornet's nest is officially kicked. Their entire legal department is in a 4-alarm fire. You were right, Jordan. You were 100% right. Tell me, I said. Okay, Marcus said, taking a breath. So, I sent the letter. I informed them that you, the de facto payer on the Woodward Avenue lease for 72 straight months, were ceasing all payments. And then I told them why. I attached, he continued, a copy of the bill of sale. The one you dug up from the sale of your BMW. The one showing your mother, Patricia Matthews, as a co-signer and beneficiary. Jordan, the property management company's lawyers didn't just see a default. They saw a massive flashing red light. Liability. Think about it, he said, his voice speeding up. Your mother isn't just a tenant. She is a licensed CPA. She used her professional status to commit fraud. She fraudulently sold an asset, your car, and in doing so, she directly caused another asset, their asset, the office lease, to go into default. She has violated about 6 different business ethics codes. She has violated her fiduciary duty. She has exposed Northland to a massive lawsuit, not just from you, but from the Michigan Board of Accountancy. They are terrified of the discovery process. They are terrified of what else this investigation might uncover about your mother's professional practices. I listened. He was right. My mother thought she was being clever, but she had been sloppy. She had mixed her professional life with her personal crimes. They don't just want this to go away, Jordan, Marcus said. They need this buried by yesterday. So, he said, a senior manager of their legal department called me an hour ago. He was extremely cooperative. He wanted to make a deal. He wanted to solve this unfortunate family matter quickly and quietly. What kind of deal? I asked. The property management company sees you, Jordan. They see your 72 straight payments. They see your income. They see you as the reliable party. They see your parents as the massive ticking liability they are. So, they are making an offer. A hell of an offer. Marcus took a breath. They are immediately proceeding with the eviction on 2847 Woodward Avenue, Suite 200. They are going to evict Matthews and Associates. Full stop. And they are officially offering you, and only you, the right to assume the lease. You just step in. You take over the remaining term. 18 months at $6,500 per month. The lease transfers to your name. Your parents are out. You are in. It's clean. It's a total win, Jordan. You get the office space. You get justice. I walked back to the window. I looked down. I could just see the edge of the lobby entrance. I saw my father, Robert, a small broken figure being half supported by my mother as they stumbled out onto the sidewalk. Riley was trailing behind them, her face in her hands. They looked homeless. I thought about the offer. An 18-month lease at $6,500 per month. I could afford it. I could take over the space. I could get the office. But it felt incomplete. It felt like they were still getting away with something. The money. My money. The $85,000 they had laughed about. The money that was supposed to pay for Riley's fresh start. It was still gone. No, I said into the phone. Marcus was floored. No? What do you mean, no? Jordan, this is the victory. This is the goal. Take the win. It's not the win, Marcus, I said. My voice was quiet, but it was made of steel. It's a win. I don't just want the office space. I want my money back. The $85,000. That's the part I care about. The office. The office is just the leverage. Jordan, I don't understand. How are you going to get the $85,000 back? That's a separate lawsuit against your mother. That's what we talked about. It could take years. No, it's not, I said. The plan was suddenly there. It was cold, and it was perfect. It's not a separate lawsuit. It is all one big, messy, fraudulent transaction, and the property management company is stuck right in the middle of it. What are you going to do? Marcus asked. Here is what you're going to do, I said. You are going to call that senior manager back. You are going to thank him for his very generous offer to let me assume the 18-month lease. And you are going to tell him I'm not interested. Marcus was silent. You're going to tell him I want to do something better. I don't want to assume his lease. I want to buy it. I want to buy the entire remaining obligation. The full $117,000 in cash. His entire problem gone from his desk by Friday. Marcus sputtered. In cash? Jordan, you don't have $117,000. You just told me they stole your $85,000. Exactly, I said. And for the first time in weeks, I smiled. A real, cold, genuine smile. That's the leverage, Marcus. That's the checkmate. You are going to tell that nice senior manager that I am eager to make his $117,000 problem disappear. I'll wire it to him by the end of the week. But unfortunately, my liquidity is a little tied up right now. My $85,000 is inconveniently in the bank accounts of various wedding vendors and debt collectors. Transactions that his company is now fully aware were funded by fraud. I let the idea land. You are going to tell him, I continued, that if he wants his $117,000, he needs to help me get my $85,000 back. The property management company has power I don't, I said, thinking aloud. They can call the venue. They can call the debt collectors. They can threaten breach of contract. They can have my mother's CPA license revoked by 9 a.m. tomorrow. They can apply pressure that I, as a jilted son, cannot. They need to undo my mother's first crime, so that I have the cash to solve their second crime. There was a very, very long silence on the other end of the phone. I just waited. Finally, I heard a low whistle. My God, Jordan. And then Marcus started to laugh. It was not a polite laugh. It was a deep, genuine laugh of pure, impressed, professional awe. You're not offering them a deal, he said, the smile clear in his voice. You're not even negotiating. You, Marcus said, are an absolute shark. You're giving them a loaded gun, telling them exactly who to point it at, and making them do all the dirty work for you, just for the privilege of letting you pay them. He laughed again. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'll make the call right now. This isn't a lawsuit, Jordan. This is a chess game. And you just called checkmate. 21 days. 21 days is all it took for an entire empire to crumble, and for a new one to rise. The final scene did not take place in a dramatic courtroom. It took place in Marcus's quiet, professional office on the 18th floor overlooking downtown Detroit. Marcus's plan. My plan. It had worked more perfectly than I could have ever imagined. The property management company, Northland, faced with a massive multi-million-dollar lawsuit and a state investigation into one of their tenants' professional ethics, did not just fold. They attacked. They did what I, as a son, could not. They unleashed their entire legal department. It was not a negotiation. It was a demolition. They called my mother, Patricia. They informed her that her CPA license was under immediate review for ethics violations and professional fraud. They called the IRS to flag the fraudulent car sale. They called the Michigan Board of Accountancy. Then they went after the money. They called the Birmingham Country Club. They called the debt collection agencies. They called every single entity that had received money from the car sale. They informed them that the $85,000 they had received were proceeds of fraud and were subject to immediate clawback. Trevor's family, seeing an opening to detach their good name from the scandal, joined Northland's efforts. They threatened their own lawsuits against the venues for accepting fraudulent funds. The Birmingham Country Club, faced with a legal battle against a major property management company and the Cambridge family, folded in less than a day. The $45,000 deposit was returned. The other entities followed, terrified. The debt collectors, the credit card companies, all returned funds. The remaining balance, my parents had to find themselves. Northland gave them 72 hours. I heard through Marcus that my father had to liquidate his entire investment portfolio. My mother had to cash out her retirement accounts. They were bled dry, down to the last cent, just to make the number whole. And now, here I was, in Marcus's office. He slid 2 documents across the polished table. The first was a cashier's check made out to me. Jordan M. Matthews. The amount, $85,000. My money. And this, Marcus said, sliding over the second, much thicker document, is the prize. It was the lease assignment. The property management company, in its profound gratitude for me solving their legal nightmare, had sold me the remaining 18-month lease obligation on 2847 Woodward Avenue, Suite 200, for a very significant discount. I had just purchased my parents' office space, the asset my mother had sacrificed me for, using the very money she had stolen from me. I picked up the pen. It was a heavy, expensive pen. I signed my name, Jordan M. Matthews, lessee. I owned my money. I owned my replacement car. And now I owned their business location. Marcus shook my hand. You didn't just win, Jordan, he said, his smile wide. You bought the whole building. I drove to Birmingham. It was the 21st day, the day Northland's eviction notice expired. The office building looked different. The pristine glass facade was the same, but the energy was wrong. A cheap rental truck was parked awkwardly in the loading zone. I parked my used Camry and walked through the lobby. I took the elevator to the second floor. The first person I saw was my father, Robert. He was trying to carry a heavy box labeled client files down the hallway. He was weak. The box slipped. He didn't try to catch it. He just let it fall, papers scattering everywhere. He cursed, a low, weak sound, and then just sat down. He sat on the floor in his wrinkled suit and put his head in his hands. A completely defeated man. The office door opened, and my sister Riley came out. If my father was a ghost, Riley was a shell. She was almost unrecognizable. The golden lifestyle blogger was gone. Her hair was scraped back in a greasy ponytail. She wore old jeans and a stained t-shirt. Her face was pale, puffy, and completely void of its former sparkle. She looked at me and her eyes were just dull. A dull, lifeless, exhausted hatred. She was carrying a box of her Instagram ring lights and camera equipment. She didn't say a word. She just dumped the box in the hallway and went back inside. And then my mother, Patricia. She came out holding a framed CPA certificate. She froze when she saw me. She just stood there, the frame in her hand. The Queen of Birmingham, the master of appearances, the woman who had smirked at me in the restaurant hallway. She was just a tired, middle-aged woman in a stained pantsuit, getting evicted. I didn't speak. I just stood in the hallway. I watched them. I watched the ruins of the family that had tried to destroy me. Finally, Patricia put the frame down. She walked slowly toward me, stopping about 10 feet away. Her eyes were empty. There were no tears left. "You came," she said. Her voice was a dry, rasping whisper. "Are you here to watch? Are you here to make sure we get out? Are you going to stand here while they throw us out?" I looked at her. I thought about her words in the hallway. "This time, it's you." I thought about her laughing on the phone, thanking me for the gift. I walked past her. I didn't answer. I walked into the office suite and looked around. The reception area, the conference room, the private offices. It needs updating, I said to myself. I turned and walked back out, stopping in front of her. She was watching me, her expression a terrified, confused mask. I reached into my leather messenger bag. I pulled out a single folded document. "I'm not going to kick you out," I said. A sudden, pathetic, desperate hope flooded her face. She actually took a step toward me, her hand reaching out. "Oh, Jordan," she breathed. "Baby, I knew it. I knew. I knew you couldn't. I knew you still cared." I held up the paper and she stopped. "This," I said, "is a sublease agreement." The hope on her face vanished, replaced by stunned, hollow confusion. A what?" "A sublease agreement," I repeated, my voice clear and professional. "You want to stay in this office? You'll pay rent. $8,500 a month. That's current market rate for Class A downtown office space." Riley, who had just come back to the doorway, let out a strangled scoff. "We don't have $8,500. You bastard." "That," I said, not even looking at her, "is not my problem. I'm looking at you, Mom. It's a month-to-month sublease. First and last month's rent, plus a security deposit, are due by the end of this week. That's $25,500 to stay." Patricia was completely speechless. $25,000? We have nothing. We have nothing. You know that? You took everything. I didn't take anything. I cut her off. I took back what was mine. You'll have to figure it out. You're a top CPA, aren't you, Mom? You know how this works. You understand contracts. You'll land on your feet. You always do. I held the paper out to her. She just stared at it. "Welcome to the real world," I said. "I hear Riley is looking for sponsored content deals. Maybe she can start reaching out to brands. That's a lot of rent to cover." I dropped the sublease agreement at her feet. I turned around, walked down the hallway, took the elevator down, and drove away. The scene shifts. It is 2 weeks later. I am in the office. My office. I am in the large corner office that used to be my father's. The old furniture is gone, replaced by my standing desk, my dual monitors, my engineering equipment. This is my new workspace, my new consultancy headquarters, Jordan Matthews Engineering Consulting. I've just signed my first 3 clients, former colleagues from my automotive company who followed me into independence. I am my own boss. I finish a video call and look out the window at the Birmingham skyline. The office is quiet, efficient, professional. My family was obsessed with legacy. They were obsessed with what the country club thought, with the name on the business card, with the honor of the family. They were so busy building a facade, they forgot to check the foundation. They never knew that I was the one, for 6 long years, who was secretly holding up the structure. They tried to sell my future to pay for their past. They took an $85,000 car from me, and in return, I took a $117,000 office lease from them. I took an entire business location. The greatest revenge isn't always about burning it all down. Sometimes it's about owning it all. It's about becoming the landlord. It's about becoming the boss. And the sweetest revenge of all? It's sitting in your new corner office, in your new space, receiving the direct deposit notification for $25,500 from the very people who tried to leave you carless. They figured it out. It seems they really needed a place to conduct business. Here's the lesson we can learn from this story. Your true worth is never defined by those who undervalue you. Jordan's family saw him as a resource to exploit, never realizing he was the secret foundation holding them up. His strength wasn't just his success, it was his knowledge. While they planned a wedding, he held the key to their survival. Emotional independence is vital, but but financial leverage is the tool that reclaims justice. They stole his car. But by understanding their critical weakness, he took back an entire commercial office space. If this story resonated with you, hit like and subscribe. Have you ever had to choose between saving your family and saving yourself? Let me know in the comments below.